I was quite a rebel in my early years at Brooks. In the eve of sophomore spring break, I had 11 cuts from skipping breakfast check-ins. Um, Ask Miss Chanel and she will tell you all about it. But in order to avoid a suspension from the 12th cut, I slept in PBD common room for 3 weeks to wake up on time in the morning. I also made varsity crew that year, not because I was good. I was probably worse than Herbert at the time. But because a boat full of seniors quit. Anyway, everything was going well, and I was becoming comfortable at Brooks in the spring of my sophomore year. Then came April 23rd, 2016, 2 years ago today. It was a Saturday. 1 month before, I had waved goodbye to my mom. I returned to Brooks at the end of spring break with 0 cut on my record. On April 3rd, surrounded by my friends and a $5 cake from a dollar store, I had turned 17. Earlier on that Saturday, I had rowed in a crew race, exhausting every bit of energy while my heart was bursting in my chest. 10 minutes later, I received a call from my aunt. Next thing I knew, I was on a flight back to China. My mind was racing. I broke down in the lavatory. I gave in to the uncertainty and insecurity, powerlessly letting myself drown in the news that my mom was in the emergency room. Fast forward 12 hours. I was sitting in my cousin's car in Beijing. My heart sunk deeper and deeper as we drove closer and closer to my apartment instead of the hospital. The living room was packed with people, and I hushed as I walked in. Everyone stepped aside to make a path for me, and at the end of the path was my dad. I stood still, looked at my dad, and glanced through the room. My eyes fixed on a photo of my mom in black and white in the middle of the room. My dad walked towards me and hugged me. It was the first time I saw him cry. My mom had passed away. I didn't cry. I had no idea what to do. So I flew back to school and hoped nothing would change. I made myself busy for fear that I would drown in the grief that sneaked up me at times. I buried myself in schoolwork, wrote even harder to forget the pain. I don't remember how many sleepless nights I went through. Now, you might be expecting an epiphany moment that helped me walk out of the shadow. There wasn't one. Life continued as if nothing changed. The uncertainty I experienced on the plane was way scarier than the truth. Now that I know what happened, I could do nothing but accept it. So I tried to. And my way of coping with the change was to become more involved and pay more attention to the present. I stayed in the dining hall after dinner and chatted with friends until study hours. I learned to enjoy rowing and embrace the pain that symbolized improvement. I walked the fire trail and watched sunset under pine trees that are covered by past students' initials on the tree barks. I bought a fishing rod from Target, but I've yet to catch anything. My friends and I raised money in Peabody to buy an inflatable hot tub for the dorm. It sat in the mailroom for a day before Mrs. Hines returned it for safety reasons. She didn't want us to drown even though there were 2 certified lifeguards in the dorm. There was a subtle twist in my attitude, and I began to appreciate small things in life. I love looking at stars on my way across the field back to Peabody, and if I'm lucky, I can see the Big Dipper. Mr. Davis always makes my day whenever he wears those purple shoes and bright yellow blazer as he is right now in the back. Max Charlem's default response to anything is, "Oh my gosh." Diane and I thought it was hilarious to squeeze a lemon on Mr. Hesse from the science firm balcony as they sit in the downstairs lobby. Olivia Jarvis once told me that my nose is an equilateral triangle. And I couldn't agree more. And next time you interact with Mr. Smith, pay attention to his face of contemplation that looks like this. And recently, I've been very excited twice a week when lunch is not grilled cheese. Uh, Living in the moment stopped me from reminiscing about the past and from worrying about the future. I simply enjoyed the present. And as it turns out, those small details that I paid attention to are almost always positive. However, I also acknowledge my feelings when things are not going well. It is okay to be upset, as long as I move on and find new things that make me happy. Occasionally, when I'm reminded of my mom, I'm never sad that she's gone. Instead, I'm always greeted by sweetness and a gratitude for her. Life sucks sometimes, and we have zero control over it. In my case, it took a 180-degree turn in one day. Accept it and embrace it. It is okay to be sad. However, don't dwell on it. Pay attention to small things in life, and you will find things worth waking up for every day. And lastly, I would like to show a picture of my mom and me. Hi, Mom. I miss you, but I'm moving on. Hope I'm making you proud. Thank you.